It is too early for this. This should be a little bit louder than last time. Not as bad as the FRS, but pretty good in the morning. It is absolutely a beautiful day outside. A beautiful day, I would say, to go to court for a car I don't even own anymore. Alright guys, here we are, 7 o'clock in the morning, greeted by the beautiful city of downtown Houston. This morning we were at the downtown Houston Municipal Courthouse for something that happened over a year ago. COVID messed everything up. I got pulled over during Texas 2K 2019, I believe. I'll put that video somewhere on the screen right here. But yeah, it has been that long. I've been trying to get my court date to do this ticket, and finally we got it in June of 2021. So we'll see how this goes. I've never been to court before. I've never got a ticket before. So this is like my first go at this. So if anyone that's watching has never been to court before like me, I guess this video is for you guys. So obviously I cannot take you guys with me into the courtroom. I have no idea how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna go pay for parking, leave you in the car, and then I will come back and spill the beans about how court goes, or this video will never go live and I'll be in jail for the rest of my life for an exhaust ticket. Alright guys, it has been about 3-4 days since I've been to court. I had my time to think and process about everything that just went on and how to, I guess, explain it to you guys that have never been, because that was my first time in any sort of like legal system. And going to court, not gonna lie, very, very intimidating. First thing you notice when you walk through the door after you pay for your parking there, it's like TSA at the airport. You got to take off all your accessories, your shoes, your belt, your hat, your glasses, everything, put them in that little bucket. They go through the x-ray, and then you get to step through the metal detectors, and then you're good to go. So after that, I really asked somebody where the courtroom was. They directed me upstairs. I went, and there was a guy called a bailiff, I believe, standing outside the courtroom, made you turn off your phone, and then you had to go check in with the usher at the front of the courtroom. After you go in, tell them your first and last name and your courtroom you're supposed to be in. They double check that you are supposed to be there on that day and in that courtroom, and then they just tell you to have a seat. So me, always wanting to get to places early just so I don't be late, got there about 45 minutes early, and I had to sit there with no phone in a courtroom in like the pews of like a church with no padding for like 45 minutes, which was very annoying. But now I know if I ever have to go back again, get there maybe like 10-15 minutes early instead of 45. The next big thing that happened was the bailiff came to the front, told everyone to stand up, and the judge came into the room pretty much telling us what was going to go down that day, that it was going to be an all-day court session, and if your officers didn't show up, then she would call you to the front and dismiss your ticket. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there fingers crossed that my officer did not show up, but sadly that was not the case. A year and some change later, that man showed up to court to make sure that I had to pay that $1,500 ticket that they gave me during Texas 2K almost 2 years ago now. But we'll get to that. Then, after the judge came up, said everything, she called roll, which in the court I believe is called a docket. And she said she's going to call it the first time, and if you don't respond the first time, then she's going to call it a second time 30 minutes later. And if you aren't there in that second one, you get a warrant out for your arrest. So this is the one roll call that you're going to need to be there for. Luckily I was there 45 minutes early, so I was all good to go. After that, all the lawyers came in, said who they're representing, what company they're with, and they said that they'll call you forward whenever it is your time to, I guess, discuss your terms if your officer did show up. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there, don't know if my officer has showed up yet. People are getting called up to the front. She's saying, your ticket has been dismissed, you're free to go. Your ticket has been dismissed, free to go. And I'm just hoping I'm one of those names. A little bit later on, my lawyer calls me up to the front, says, bad news, your officer did show up, But if you can give me some proof that you had insurance on that day, which I did at the time, we'll get that part dismissed, front plates getting dismissed, and then we just have to worry about your loud noise violation. I was like, okay, that's easy enough. So I hopped out of the courtroom, turned on my phone, called the insurance company, talked to the guy, and he emailed me over a copy of my insurance from that day, which was like March 2020 at this point. Another thing about the courtroom is you only got 15-minute breaks. So me going out on my phone call, that's technically a 15-minute break. I could only be on the phone for 15 minutes, and if I was on the phone longer than 15 minutes and the judge called my name and I wasn't in the courtroom, she assumes I left and I get a warrant out for my arrest. So she made it seem very, very scary to a first-timer being there, and I was making sure I was not going a second over that 15-minute mark. So I finished up my phone call, got my thing emailed to me, went back in, checked back in with the bailiff, and sat back down awaiting for my lawyer's next steps. So then after that, she told me to go back out in the hallway, take a screenshot of my email, and then come back in and show her. So after awkwardly sitting there for about 5-10 minutes or so, I walked back up to the bailiff and said, hey, I gotta go check my email to see if I got something. I'm gonna step out for another 15, all right? And he was like, yeah, go for it, man. So I did it, got my screenshot, came back in, gave my lawyer the thumbs up, and she was like, okay, I'll call you up to the front in 1 second. So after she calls my name to the front, I go up there. She says, okay, I'm going to go talk to the prosecutor, which was the other lady sitting up at the front with like a laptop, I guess searching up people's cases and negotiating with them. She said, I'm going to ask the prosecutor if we could pay a fine that isn't the full amount for the loud noise violation, which was an $800 violation. She said, I'm going to try to get that down as much as I can, but you've got your proof that you were insured on that day and the front license plate. So we're going to get those two out of the way, and then the only one we got to worry about is how much she's going to want you to pay for that noise violation. So I was like, okay, I'm good with that, and I went and sat back down, and she started talking to the prosecutor. All the while I'm hearing my name and some mumbling going on up there. I couldn't really make out exactly what they were saying, but I was hoping that I would just get off scot-free and she'd be like, that's a stupid violation. Texas doesn't have any noise decibel levels that you have to be under anyway. Sadly, that wasn't the case. My lawyer returned to me and said, okay, first two, 100% dismissed. They're going to want you to pay a $50 fine for your noise violations on top of your court fees, and then you'll be on a 3-month probation, which is called like deferred adjudication or something like that. And I was like, $50 instead of $800, I'll take it. So I told her I agreed with those terms, and she told me, all right, hang tight, I'm gonna go talk to the judge and she'll call you forward when we're ready to discuss your case. That's exactly what I did. I sat my butt back down in that chair and I hoped that this thing would go by fast, because I only paid for 4 hours of parking and I had been there about the 3-hour mark right now. Luckily, within probably 5 minutes, she called me up to the front, told me exactly what I was going to have to do, that I was going to be on a 90-day probation. I could not get pulled over for the same offense or I would be found guilty and I would have to pay the full $800 fine. So I was like, okay, that's fine with me. I'll pay the $50 instead of the $1,500, and I was on my way. The usher lady at the very beginning called me over, handed me all my paperwork, made me sign some stuff, and just said, go downstairs to the cashier and he will check you out. I was like, okay. So I went downstairs, found the guy, paid my fine, which came out to be about $130 instead of paying $1,500. So I was very, very thankful about that, and I was on my way. I still felt a little bit kind of like bad about the situation after I left, which is why I didn't pick up the camera until now. I was kind of trying to process in my head just what like probation meant, because usually I think of like criminals being on probation and they can't get a ticket for like a year or whatever, and then they go back to jail. But after some thinking and talking to the people around me, I guess that's not the case. I think I just can't get pulled over for a noise violation for 90 days, which is kind of sucks because I just put on the downpipe on the Supra and it pops and bangs, but we'll try to keep that to a minimum. But I think I'm just gonna take a chill pill for the next 90 days, not drive like an absolute madman, and actually get off probation like the week after my birthday. But I'll be back in school anyway. So we're gonna see how this all goes. I just wanted to make this video for you guys to kind of hear the process of like what court is like, at least here in Houston. Let me know if you guys have any crazy court stories, crazy ticket stories in the comments below. I definitely do not want to go back though. That was not a fun process whatsoever. Having to deal with that stuff and sit in that room for the long time that I was there was just a overall bad experience. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are informed of what goes on. Hope you guys stay out of trouble. And if you guys are staying out of trouble, I gotta stay out of trouble. So I'm not gonna be no crazy boy for probably till September. So we will see how that goes. I don't really do much crazy stuff anyway, but I just have to be a good boy for 3 months. So hope you all enjoy this kind of sit down story time video about my experience in court for the first time, going to court for a car I don't even own. This was an interesting one. Hopefully don't go back. And that's about all I have for today. So if you did like the video, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.
It rings around my head, you falling intertwined. Don't you let me down.